Leeds United are set for a major sale in the coming weeks, or at least to be confirmed in the coming weeks. It's apparently been agreed already, and it shows the importance of our current proactivity in the transfer window and sets us on course for a significantly better summer. At least one in which we're not selling a lot of players and then, like January, not recruiting people. But we'll get into that in a moment. But first, just a reminder about the Leeds Creator Cup. Charity football match with all the Leeds YouTubers you could possibly think of, or the ones that I could possibly think of and invite. Pop along. It's on the 20th of July at the John Charles Centre for Sport. Still looking for sponsors. You can email me with the email address I've got at the top of the description if you're fancying it. There we go. But let's get right into the actual news. Who are Leeds United selling? Well, it won't come as a surprise to quite a lot of people, but Rasmus Christensen is set for a move to Eintracht Frankfurt. This is his second loan spell away from Leeds United after taking us down from the Premier League. Went to Roma for a little bit. Roma were like, cool, you'll occasionally make the squad. So he didn't go there permanently. And then this season, Eintracht Frankfurt have been significantly more embracing of him. He's sort of become a key player for them. And currently being there on loan, he seems to be performing significantly better than they expected. He's had something like 1,700-ish minutes, and he's played quite a lot on sort of the right-hand side of a back five, a little bit of time in midfield as well, and he's done pretty dang well there for them. Well enough for them to want to buy him permanently with a fixed sum of €6 million, which is a decent wad of cash. In addition to that, if he does well there and if certain points are met, it can rise to €8 million, which is very, very nice. A decent amount of money for a player that we thought wasn't particularly good. He'll have at least 4 years of contract at Eintracht Frankfurt. That doesn't really affect us in the slightest, though, and an official announcement is expected in the next few weeks. That'll be in order to get like media stuff together and all that kind of bits and bobs, and they'll have worked out a time that makes sense for their media teams. And as long as a deal is agreed, which it seems to be according to Florian Plettenberg, who is a very, very good source for anything Bundesliga, we can trust that it's happened. But there are some questions around whether or not Leeds United have made mistakes with this deal. So initially, we did have a 10 to 12 million euro option to buy on their side. So in theory, we've lost 2 to 4 million euros, something in that area. So there is a pretty strong argument that we've left some money on the table in this deal. And yeah, I understand that perspective. That perspective makes sense because if we can get a higher fee for him, why would we not take it? But if you look a little bit deeper, if we're charging between 10 and 12 million euros, would Frankfurt have actually paid that money to us? Would they have gone, yeah, cool, he's worth that kind of sum? Or would it have been significantly easier for us to go, well, this makes sure that we sell him and we don't have to find another loan deal for him in the future. And this makes sure that you get your player. Cool. We get him off the books. Also cool. And it turns out to be FFP profit, or at least not an FFP loss, because the value of a player depreciates over a contract. We will have sold just above that value when they're halfway through a contract. I think Rasmus had 4 years here, signed for 10 to 12-ish million pounds. So that takes it to about 6 million quid. So that's not too bad for us. We're not actually losing on FFP there. And at the end of the day, it's better to have something than nothing. We might as well sell him for a reasonable amount of money than have to loan him out again and then loan him out again and then he's out of contract. Not really gained anything in that situation. Whereas in this situation, bit of money comes our way and he gets to just get on with his career and doesn't have to faff about coming back to Thorpe Arch for 15 minutes every summer to be told where in Europe he's being shipped out to again. At the end of the day, if we did make any mistakes with signing Rasmus Christensen, it's with signing him in the first place. Because Rasmus Christensen, not the best in his time at Leeds. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a moment, but there's a reason that he's consistently gone out and there's other players that have consistently come back. He wanted to go out, and that's fair enough, fine. He's well within his rights to, but don't expect to be welcomed back. And that ties into how exactly the fans are going to feel about this one. And I'd guess joyful. Because, again, signed in the season that we went down, stuck around for a Premier League season, and then was like, no, you know what? I fancy playing in Europe. And the funny part is, I don't think he even got picked for Roma's Europa League squad that season, which adds to the humour of it all. When he was at Leeds United, he was absolutely not good enough. Like, Luke Ayling, who was very clearly on his way out, looked significantly better than Rasmus Christensen a lot of the time, and I would say contributed some of the biggest memorable moments of that season, including I think he scored the winner against Wolves in that season, which is more than we can say for Christensen reasonably. But at the end of the day, I think he's probably just a wrong fit for that role, and I'll get to that in a moment's time, because we need to talk about the lessons that we've learned from the entire Rasmus Christensen ordeal for future transfer windows. And the first is to actually understand the player that you are signing. You look at Christensen and you think, cool, we signed him in the first place, maybe this is a long-term replacement for Luke Ayling. But if you look a little bit deeper, you see that he doesn't do the bombarding runs forward very much. And he doesn't particularly defend especially well. Which at that point, sure, Ayling didn't do that too well either. But his passing was also not great. So it feels like we saw him play a few times in his club before coming to Leeds United and went, yeah, actually, that might work out for us. Because Marsh had played with him at Salzburg for a bit. But I've just had a quick look at his numbers here. He played for Salzburg a grand total of 21 times. He played as much there as he did at Leeds United. No, hold on. That's only Champions League and European matches. Never mind, he played 21 times in Europe for Salzburg. But the point still stands of we clearly didn't understand the player and the way that he plays well enough. And we also need to establish how exactly a player is going to fit a system. Because you can't look at a player that clearly does not fit what you want to do. Because right now, Rasmus Christensen plays on the right-hand side of a back five as a wing-back. You can't put him into a Jesse Marsh system that plays real narrow and doesn't allow the bombing on and say, do your thing. Because he can't do his thing, because your system is actively saying, don't do the thing. Which means that as a player, you sort of get split between the two potential options. And that fast transitional stuff that Jesse Marsh tried to do didn't work out because he was stuck playing really narrow, which you don't get when you're playing on the right-hand side of a back five. So you need to establish not only how the player that you're looking at plays, but you need to make sure they actually fit into the system that you're signing them for. Because if not, well done, you spent £12 million on what is ultimately detrimental to your cause. And ultimately, you need to think long-term for transfers. Because having signed Rasmus Christensen, he was purely a Marsh signing. The only other managers that he's reasonably going to fit in with are managers that will say, cool, play five at the back. So then when we signed our next manager, Javi Gracia, who played a 4-4-2, didn't really work for him either. Then we signed Sam Allardyce, who who managed, 4 matches for us? Didn't go particularly well either, and he didn't even play 5 at the back, he played 6 at the back. Madness. So if you're thinking long-term and you've got players who can fit into multiple different systems or can at least fit into the system of the manager you're looking at next, maybe you're going to be okay. And the final lesson that we've learned is don't insert those stupid loan clauses. If you want to get rid of a player at the end of a relegation season, you know how you do it? You sell them, because then you've got the money. You don't loan them out, because then you end up in a situation the next summer, as we've seen in the most recent summer transfer window, saying, actually, we didn't get fees for Harrison and Christensen, did we? We still haven't yet, and you need to sell more players than you otherwise would. Those loan clauses are some of the stupidest things that we've seen in football administration for a while, and I'm so glad they're gone, because they can't hurt us anymore, except Jack Harrison's, so that's fun. But at the end of the day, as always, that is just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, let me know if you want to talk charity match stuff. That'd be hugely appreciated. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you've not yet. You could even become a channel member if you fancy. Again, I'm going to do the thing where channel membership revenue is going to go towards both funding the charity match and funding Prostate Cancer UK donations. So hopefully that all ends up absolutely fan-debby-dozy. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo.